BioWare takes one part kung fu.
Once you put on your kung fu goggles, it gets crazy. We have everything from magical or impossible fighting styles all the way to the gambit of things that are more realistic.
Mixes it with one part video game.
Do you know anybody who doesn't like people kicking ass and flying through the air? Now you put it into a game and you got something.
And throws in a dash of Eastern mythology.
What's really interesting about the wuxia genre is it's been around for literally thousands of years.
They end up with their most ambitious RPG to date.
All the pieces come together.
It's magical. There's no other way to describe it other than just sheer joy.
That is going to completely blow people away.
This is the making of Jade Empire.
Hi guys, welcome to BioWare. I'm going to be taking you through a little bit of a tour of some of our offices so you can actually see some of the things we're doing here on the Jade Empire.
Since 1995, a Canadian game developer called BioWare has been taking gamers into fantastic worlds.
Well, BioWare is most certainly among the elite game developers out there. The thing that made them really, fantastic, like Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter and things like that is that they really have the ability to grasp not only like all the elements that are required for a role-playing game, but also they know how to tell a story.
Only one way out for you!
And that's really what they're masters of.
In 2003, BioWare ventures to a galaxy far, far away with the release of Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic, I think, struck such a chord with so many people.
Those guys made a Star Wars game that Star Wars fans have wanted since Return of the Jedi.
It touched people in a way that some of our previous games had a little more difficulty touching.
But rather than working on a sequel to their new hit, BioWare decides to follow through on an old idea.
It was actually about 10 years ago that Greg and Ray first thought of it.
Jade Empire is a game that we've been thinking about at BioWare for a really long time, and I know both Ray and I personally, as well as a whole bunch of other people here, are really passionate about it.
We wanted to wait until the right moment in BioWare's history as a company to make a game like Jade Empire. It's our first new intellectual property. We wanted to wait until the people here had the experience to make a game, build a story that's going to be awesome, make a real-time fighting system, fast-paced, real-time martial arts combat, and also wanted to wait until we had the right system to develop it on.
The concept of martial arts role-playing game would have real resonance within the video game industry.
The Canadian developer trades in their lightsabers for nunchucks and starts development on an Xbox exclusive called Jade Empire.
Let's take a look at one of our designers' offices. Designers, of course, are responsible for the way the game shapes up.
I think they like new, interesting challenges.
We wanted to build up a reputation with our fans and also feel like we had the experience inside the company to really do just an amazing job on our first new intellectual property. And Jade Empire is that new IP.
Creating a new brand is the toughest thing in the video game business, and that's a very courageous thing to do, but at the same time, BioWare has enough cred out there that people are going to go, I'm going to play Jade Empire, even though I don't know anything about this universe and it's not sci-fi.
We had two goals. Number one, we wanted to make our first wholly made setting at BioWare to be something that was really fun, interesting, a little bit different.
So this is an example of the use of sweeping vistas to help identify where you are in the world so that the player could navigate without constantly referring to the map.
And the other goal, I think, was we wanted to get action gamers into RPG gaming. The merging of the two genres is something that's very exciting.
BioWare's bold new direction will take gamers into worlds unlike any other.
The reason I'm standing here looking imposing is because back there is some super secret stuff that I can't show anyone. Let's just say, whatever's back there, it's going to be really, really cool.
For Jade Empire, BioWare will create a new world unlike any seen by Western audiences.
The good thing about working with something like Dungeons & Dragons or Star Wars that we did in the past is they had so much source material. But the thing is with Jade Empire, of course, that we had to make everything from scratch.
It's very stylized, very nuanced, very kinetic. To that, we look to the experts in Hong Kong cinema.
We first, of course, watched as many kung fu movies as we could.
We also watched, every movie we could find, and we ran the spectrum from like the cheesiest, stupidest, most ridiculous martial arts movie from the 60s or 70s, all the way to really, really good Asian films like Hero or Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Once someone starts watching all these and you put on your kung fu goggles, and once the kung fu goggles are on, it gets crazy. You come up with some amazing ideas that actually transfer really well into video games.
What's really interesting about the wuxia genre is really how untapped it has been by Western developers. It's been around for literally thousands of years. When we started work on Jade Empire, one of the first things we did was start with the primary source. In many cases, the kung fu movies we see are all references back to that. So we went back to the original source, things like Journey to the West, Outlaws of the March, these really, really old Chinese novels, hundreds of years old in many cases.
For my part, I delved more deeply into myths and arts of ancient China.
If all of those myths were true, then Jade Empire is the world that would have resulted from that. So if dragons really existed, if magic really was like that, if people could actually fly, that is the sort of thing that you have in Jade Empire, and that's the sort of world we're trying to create.
It's not clearly reality.
Demon forward.
You can transform into a 20-foot monster and run around stomping your enemies and shoot fireballs out of your hands. It's clearly not real. But the way of playing with that and making it seem sort of like a dream world or like a mythical world out of the past is very important.
You see all kinds of cool settings, everything from lush jungles to snowy mountain fortresses.
It's not a literal adaptation of the myths and legends of ancient China, but rather more inspired by those. So we're creating a brand new fantasy world.
It brings an entirely new world. There's a whole different conception of how magic works. There's a different idea of what sorts of monsters and demons are running around. How people get more powerful, what a hero really is.
BioWare must make the content of Jade Empire accessible to Western audiences without straying too far from its Eastern roots.
We're hoping that this is going to be globally successful, but we have to make sure that some of the more obscure elements aren't going to be lost on people. We had to try and find almost the universal elements that would appeal to everyone while maintaining that wonderful flavor that you have in all those books.
There are certain characters we felt we couldn't make the game without. Outlaws of the March has over 100 primary characters. This is something you'd never see in Western literature. We knew we wanted the tradition of the esoteric magicians. We looked back to China's first emperors for sort of imperial inspiration.
That was quite challenging.
We realized we had to do some homework. There's little bits of folklore, little bits of mythology. We tried to collect all of those, read through them, and then start talking about what made them Chinese, what made them exotic or strange, but also make it accessible.
After watching hundreds of kung fu films and countless hours of research, the storyline for Jade Empire takes form.
Basically what you're looking at in Jade Empire is starting the game as a young martial arts master. Been training under Master Li. He's not a real talkative fellow, and he hasn't really told you everything, but everyone's kind of got the sense that he's about to reveal something big. Normally, a spirit would journey and go to the wheel of life and be reincarnated, but somehow that isn't happening. That's something that's affecting the entire empire. And that's really the main plot motivator. So, you're going to find out why.
As with previous BioWare releases, morality will play a key role in the game.
We really struggled to put a lot of extra choice in this game. It's not just black and white, it changes the way the general game develops.
Are these floating stones not wondrous?
The choice is really important. There's multiple endings.
That is a dark philosophy, but I would not dare to argue with you.
Good and evil, but with more of a gray zone in between.
The path of peace is the only way to a good life.
Giving the player the chance to justify their actions.
I have irrefutable proof that might makes right.
So you end up with some of our most complex villains because their motivations aren't just, yeah, I'm evil. It's, I'm doing this because this is what's right. So they make pretty compelling villains.
Having black and white or good and evil choices should always be part of the experience. If you're just trying to be a good character, trying to do the right thing, that should be an option. And if you want to be the evil guy, if you want to, have fun and do some of the things you can never do in your actual life, where the great choices come in is that they enrich the experience. It's more like real life.
The setting isn't the only new territory BioWare will tackle. The lightning-quick martial arts action of Jade Empire will require them to approach in-game combat a whole new way.